Chinese companies feeling the heat. From the state to the federal level, officials are cracking down on Chinese firms. The Biden administration blacklisting another 37 companies, including Chinese companies BGI and Inspur. The state of Nebraska joining in, listing telecom giants like Huawei and ZTE. And U.S. ally Australia also taking aim, prying China's grip from rare earth supplies. That's through banning a Chinese-linked investment fund in the country. The goal? Purging Chinese infiltration. What do you think of the actions? Let us know below and subscribe if you haven't already. Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. 37 companies blacklisted by the Biden administration Thursday. Among them, units of Chinese genetics company BGI and Chinese cloud computing firm Inspur. The Commerce Department singled out BGI Research and BGI Tech Solutions for the trade restrictions. That's over allegations they pose a significant risk of helping Beijing's surveillance and military programs. BGI's forensics subsidiary also got listed, called Forensics Genomics International. The company is closely linked to the Chinese military. In 2021, a report exposed that BGI had harvested genetic data from over 8 million pregnant women in at least 52 countries. BGI also developed the prenatal test that was used together with the Chinese military. The Chinese company first got a foothold on American soil through a purchase in 2013 when it bought up Complete Genomics. The California-based company holds genetic information on U.S. citizens. Last month, Complete Genomics announced plans to put new devices in use. The company says they can decode more DNA at lower cost than any other device available on the market. China has long considered genetic data collection a national security issue. Beijing has restricted foreign researchers from accessing gene data on Chinese people since 2015. In contrast, the U.S. and Britain give foreign researchers access to genetic data as part of open science policies. Back to Washington's latest blacklist additions, the Commerce Department also accused Inspur of supporting China's military modernization efforts by pursuing U.S. goods. Here's Beijing's response.
China is strongly dissatisfied with this and firmly opposes it.
The blacklist limits targeted companies from receiving shipments of U.S. goods. Other additions to the list include entities said to violate sanctions on Iran, 3 firms in Russia, Belarus, and Taiwan, the U.S. says have aided Russia's military. Companies in China and Myanmar over human rights violations, and companies in China and Pakistan for backing certain ballistic missile programs of concern. Another U.S. state aiming to purge Chinese infiltration and protect taxpayer money. Nebraska is taking action against companies linked to the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP. Governor Jim Pillen announced an executive order Thursday. Here's what it covers.
The order bans the state government and contractors from using equipment and services produced by a list of CCP-linked companies. It says they can be used to commit malicious actions that include economic and industrial espionage. Companies on the list include Huawei and ZTE, among others. Pillen says the executive order will stop the CCP from using technology to infiltrate and influence Nebraska's infrastructure.
These companies are considered national security risks by the U.S. Federal Communications Commission. In 2019, the commission banned sales of certain equipment made by them on American soil. Across the ocean, Australia is breaking China's grip on rare earth supplies. Australia just banned a Chinese-linked investment fund from boosting its stake in a crucial rare earth producer. Last year, the company Yuxiao Fund attempted to double its investment in Northern Minerals Limited from just under 10% to nearly 20%. Australia's federal treasurer blocked the move but gave no comment. According to Northern Minerals executive chairman, Yuxiao Fund is linked to a Chinese national named Yu Xiaowu. Wu also owns rare earth mines in a nation in southern Africa. Rare earths are key to crafting military equipment. China currently dominates rare earth production globally, accounting for 85% of the world's refining capacity. Earlier this year, the U.S. also took action against Beijing's monopoly in the sector. America's only rare earth producer sent output from its new processing plant to Japan, marking an effort to reduce Chinese control over the supply chain. Back to the U.S., can U.S. intelligence related to the origins of COVID-19 be declassified? The Senate is moving to do just that. A bill introduced by Senators Josh Hawley and Mike Brown passed with unanimous consent. The two senators are now calling on the House to approve it. Here's Senator Josh Hawley speaking with Jesse Waters on Fox News Wednesday.
We need the House to pass it, Jesse, and then we can get this thing done. Listen, the American people, it's past time. Let's show them what the government has. Let everybody see for themselves. Let everybody read it.
The bill is called the COVID-19 Origin Act of 2023. It specifically aims to investigate the possibility that the virus leaked from a lab in Wuhan, China. Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown made a request for unanimous consent of the bill. That request was granted without objection. Unanimous consent enables a bill to pass without a recorded vote. The bill was reintroduced on Monday after the Department of Energy concluded the pandemic most likely arose from a lab leak. The FBI came to a similar conclusion.
The bill would require the Biden administration to declassify all information in the government's possession on the most likely origins of COVID-19. And just in from Washington, President Biden stepped outside Friday, approaching reporters. He appeared to be getting ready to respond to questions before turning away without comment. That's after he heard a question about COVID-19's origin and whether he'll hold China accountable.
On COVID origin, we'll hold China accountable.
And in Canadian Parliament, a committee now calling on the government to probe allegations of foreign election interference. Lawmakers passed a motion Thursday after listening to testimony from top intelligence officials. The motion is non-binding, but ramps up pressure on Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's government, urging it to investigate whether foreign players like China tried to meddle in the 2021 and 2019 general elections. Chinese Foreign Minister Qin Gan called those allegations completely false and nonsensical. The vote came after Canada's spy agency said no major foreign election interference impacted the country's last two votes. Trudeau has acknowledged interference attempts by China, but insisted the outcomes of the votes were not altered. The biggest military exercises in Southeast Asia, led by the U.S. and joined by 30 countries, excluding China. It's called the Cobra Gold exercise. The two-week drill kicked off on Tuesday in Thailand. The 7,000 troops involved are all from the Indo-Pacific region.
Through Cobra Gold, we demonstrate our resolve to respond together, to preserve a free and open Indo-Pacific so that all nations can maintain peace, stability, and prosperity.
The annual exercises took a 2-year break due to the pandemic. This year's drills will cover a broad range: land, sea, air, cyberspace, and, for the first time ever, space operations. The Cobra Gold drill first began in the 1980s. It remains a key platform for Washington to shore up alliances in Asia amid China's growing influence.
After the joint drill in Thailand wraps up, another is set to launch. U.S. and South Korean troops will soon hold their largest combined military drill in years. Officials from the two countries announced the large-scale exercises on Friday.
The exercises are dubbed Freedom Shield. They will be held from March 13th to the 23rd. The two militaries say it will strengthen the Allies' combined defensive posture as well as their response capabilities. The spokesman for South Korean forces says the focus will be on changing threats and the security environment. He referenced North Korea's aggression and their advanced nuclear and missile program. The spokesman for U.S. forces says the drills are routine and purely defensive.
One of those exercises will include a combined amphibious drill that will be conducted to improve combined operation execution capabilities.
We go together.
North Korean officials claim joint military operations like this are proof that the U.S. and its allies are hostile.
South Korean officials have noted that North Korea is also conducting annual winter drills. Foreign ministers from the Quad Alliance meeting in India Friday. During the talks, they agreed to enhance cooperation and hinted at veiled criticism of China without directly mentioning its name.
We allow
Quad is short for Quadrilateral Security Dialogue. Australia, India, Japan, and the United States make up its 4 members. Well, the dialogue is considered a strategic response to China's rising military power in the Indo-Pacific region. In the latest meeting, the 4 nations emphasized the value of freedom, rule of law, sovereignty, and territorial integrity, as well as the peaceful settlement of disputes. The ministers also voiced concerns over Beijing's current activities in the South China Sea and around Taiwan. In response, Beijing accused the Quad of engaging in what it called exclusive cliques. The 4 ministers said their nations don't see conflict with China. Canada intercepting large quantities of banned weapons from China. These weapons arrived in parcels at the Vancouver International Airport under a false declaration.
Those prohibited weapons included stun guns, prohibited knives, and brass knuckles. What we did is we investigated the case further, and then we executed a search warrant and arrested an individual who is alleged to have smuggled those weapons.
Canadian authorities arrested that individual, and investigators seized more firearms from the person's home. In total, they found over 1,300 prohibited weapons. In a statement, Canada's Minister of Public Safety said the agency is taking action at the border to keep communities safe, seizing banned weapons and ensuring criminals are held accountable. With over half of the world's grain in its pocket, China still appears anxious about food shortages. Beijing recently unveiled its first policy paper of the year. It singled out food supply as a top concern for the country, urging farmers to scale up production. Here's a closer look.
Is there a food shortage happening in China? According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, China has stockpiled more than half of the planet's grains as of mid-2022. That equals the amount China's total population consumes in a year. This hoard is so large that Washington accused Beijing of driving up global food prices and plunging more countries into famine. So what's behind the communist regime's stock-up? Professor Frank Tian Xie from the University of South Carolina, Aiken, shared this insight.
I guess China may have a problem with food production, meaning its domestic output isn't high enough. As for importing grains, one obstacle is the current spike in prices, the other is the global inflation.
Internationally, China's falling exports are bringing in less foreign exchange, leaving less money for food imports. While in China, heavy floods pummeled several provinces in southern China last year. In other regions, extreme heat and drought have also hurt agriculture.
In the absence of mechanized mass production, China relies heavily on manual labor to produce its food. But nowadays, it doesn't have enough rural labor anymore.
Another expert says Beijing is facing pressure even beyond food insecurity. That's based on China's so-called number 1 document, an annual blueprint for the country's rural policy.
The paper mentions specifically that there are various changes both at home and abroad. Such rare upheavals are destabilizing the communist regime's rule. This is what the document implies.
Meanwhile, as tensions around Taiwan escalate, Li poses a question. How can Beijing start a war if it's short on food?
The Chinese regime's espionage tactics don't stop at spy balloons. That's from a new report, saying hackers linked to China have been gathering far more information. Leading cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike recently published its annual Global Threat Report. It identifies China-linked hackers as the most active cyber intrusion groups in 2022. It says cyber espionage groups linked to China have taken aim at about 40 industries in the U.S. and globally. About a fourth of those attacks targeted countries in North America. Adam Myers, the head of intelligence at CrowdStrike, explained they are endemic at this point. They are everywhere. Based on the report, hackers have targeted almost every sector, from government to defense, aerospace, technology, telecommunications, and manufacturing, even pharmaceuticals and academia. The report also labels Taiwan as the region most targeted by Chinese hackers in 2022. In particular, Taiwan-based technology organizations were overwhelmingly singled out. More than 90% of the world's cutting-edge microchips are manufactured on the island. That's all for today's China in Focus on YouTube. We're now sharing a shortened version of our program here after being demonetized for 2 years. Here's what to look out for in our second half. Is China's military buildup really outpacing the U.S.? Plus, why does an expert say China is already attacking us, but America hasn't defended itself? We hear from Grant Newsham, author of When China Attacks, a warning to America for a breakdown. The full episode is available on our partner platform, Epoch TV. To sign up, click the link down below. Thanks for watching China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. See you tomorrow.